Anyways, moving on to Tamara from 2005. Well, actually, before I just go into the plot of this movie, just the name Tamara. I know you pronounced it. How did you pronounce it?
Tamara.
Yeah. In this movie, it's called Tamara, and here in Australia, this name would typically be pronounced Tamara. So there's like 3 different ways I've heard it.
Yeah, the unfortunate thing is I saw this movie 3 days ago and I already forget how it's pronounced. So.
Anyways, I'll say Tamara just because that's how they say it in the movie, but it seems weird to me. Anyways, so this character, Tamara, she's an outcast and has a crush on her teacher, and she tries to put some sort of, I guess, love spell on him through witchcraft that she's been studying. Anyways, one night a bunch of jerky teens, or at least some of them are jerky teens, some of them are kind of unwilling participants, but, they're made up of your typical high school type students, so they play a prank on her, and it leads her to believe that she's having this romantic rendezvous with her teacher, and of course things go sour, and she ends up tussling with some of these jerky teens that played the prank on her, and there's an incident which leads to her supposed death. They decide to bury her and pretend as if nothing happened, but the next day, Tamara shows up at school looking hot as fuck and, one by one exacts her revenge on these stupid teenage characters. So I originally watched this movie back when around the time it came out. I don't know exactly if it was that year or the year after, but my thoughts on the movie haven't really changed, I don't think, since then. It's very much like, I would say it's a lot like I Know What You Did Last Summer, but you essentially take out the slasher character, the fisherman, and replace him with, this hot girl, and it's got this whole witchcraft aspect to it where she kind of controls other people, but essentially it's, it's like a cheap clone of I Know What You Did Last Summer. It's a very generic horror movie in my mind, especially for its time. It's certainly, there's nothing all that special about it in terms of what happens in the movie, but at the same time, I don't particularly dislike it either. I just thought it was very average or mediocre type movie, just generic, I guess the word is. I don't think there's a whole lot to the actual movie itself. What did you think of this one?
So this is a movie that I've never seen before. It played quite often on different television stations, after it came out, and I always saw the name, but when I read the plot, I'm like, oh hey, this does not interest me whatsoever, so I never actually watched it. And as it turns out, I actually liked it a little more than I thought I would. I'm not going to go as far as to say it's a great movie, but I was entertained. And I was sort of getting, and maybe it's just because I saw it somewhat recently, but I was getting a Carrie 2 vibe from it. An unpopular teenage girl is in a sort of bad high school situation, and then she comes back, and she's powerful. So it has sort of like the typical high school stuff you would expect. Pretty horrible characters all around. The who cut love the father. The father was a pretty sympathetic guy, but and to be fair, the teacher character, he was a decent guy too. He was trying his best, but I mean it's just a bad situation all around. And I thought there was some interesting things here. I did like the one of the earliest deaths once she came back, the media guy who cut his ears off and cut his tongue off and impaired his eyes, in front of other students. That was pretty fun. You can imagine that the school therapist had a lot of people come in the following few weeks. I think it's a decent movie. I was entertained a lot more than I thought I would be, but I don't know if it's a movie that I would watch, that many more times. I'll just say it's better than I thought it would be, and I have pretty positive views toward it. it didn't blow me away or anything, but to be honest, I was okay with it.
Well, yeah, I mean, I think it's okay, and that's it. I mean, for me, it's an average movie. I mean, the movie, and I'm sure I mentioned this in my review on the website, but it's not. I mean, it tries to be as scary as generic teen horror movie is for its time, but it's certainly not going to really scare any horror enthusiasts out there. It's not going to be one of those creepy type movies. But with that being said, I did have one fear during the movie, and that was coming in my pants every time Jenna Dewan is strutting around the screen in those skimpy skirts, and that was definitely the highlight for me.
Yeah, she was a decently attractive individual. I mean, it might be worth dying just to get some of that.
She is married to Channing Tatum, isn't she? And, with him being who he is, he's got pretty much a pick of the litter, you'd assume, so... Yeah. The teacher at the end... Something about the way this movie ends is just weird. Like, that choice that he makes at the end just seems a little too... Like, he could have put a bit more thought into what he was doing there at the end.
Well, I don't know how many other options he had, to be honest. He's trying to keep his wife safe, so he just sees, does what he thinks it takes, and...
Yeah, but look, I mean, this is kind of a spoiler alert, I guess. So if you don't want anything spoiled, maybe
if you haven't seen this generic 2005 horror movie, don't listen.
Yeah, but I mean, the other option I saw is okay, just go away and be with her. I mean, that's what I would do for good reasons.
I can imagine the wife's reaction to that after she with you.
I mean, why kill yourself? I mean, you're not going to be with your wife either way, so just, go be with this hot chick and bang her.
You would make a terrible teacher.
Yes, I do envy him.
Yeah, to be honest, I enjoyed the movie, at the time of watching it, to, a moderate degree. But it's not a movie that has many, in my opinion, memorable things in it. I mean, I did like the Halle Berry lookalike. Forget what her name is, but the one black chick. She was she had a certain attractiveness to her.
I'm not a fan of chicks with short hair usually. So
I see, that's funny because like one of my favorite actresses is Ellen Page, who happens to be a lesbian, so that shows my taste. I also like the short-haired pixie cat look, so that's just me. Anyway, that's a random jiggy fact. So I think the movie's decent. If you watch it like maybe once or twice, you'll probably have some enjoyment from it. But I just have a hard time believing this would make anybody's like top 15 favorite 2000s horror movies. I just think there's enough there to really warrant that. It's you can just put it in, make some popcorn, have an okay time, but it's not really much more than that. There's so many better movies from this time period, and even you compared it to I Know What You Did Last Summer. I think I Know What You Did Last Summer is actually significantly better than this one, and many have like the sort of maybe.
Well, I was just comparing it in the sense that they accidentally kill someone, they decide to bury them and swear they're not going to mention it to anyone, and then somehow someone comes back to exact revenge. It's pretty much a clone of that, isn't it?
It is, but that reminds me of something else I wanted to bring up. After they accidentally kill her, that one guy, one football guy's like, I'm not going to lose my football scholarship because I've, accidentally called this one. She's not worth it. Talk about absolute scam. It just, I just hate people like that. And, I knew a few people in high school who had, maybe somewhat similar personalities, and that's why I compared this one to Carrie 2, because Carrie 2 had, a few football jocks who were just raping women, but it was okay because they were into football. So it's like, sort of generic cliche, hey, these jocks are bad people, but I mean, in this movie they sort of were. Especially when they start bullying her, because she did an article about the whole, performance enhancing drag thing. It's like, hey, how can you talk about this? And God, let's talk about unlikable people. So it's actually somewhat unfortunate they did have more painful deaths. I mean, to be honest, it's an okay movie. I'm just gonna give this a straight average rating of a 7 out of 10.
Well, I mean, your average rating is a 7, and my average rating is kind of around a 6. So I'm giving this a 6. So I think we both had fairly similar thoughts on the movie in terms of how much we enjoyed it. It's a fairly generic movie. It's not good. It's not bad. It's just, it's okay. Like you said, you can watch it. You can have an okay time with it, eat some popcorn, whatever, and then be done with it. And aside from maybe thinking of Jenna.
I like your hesitation.
But aside from thinking about her, the movie's pretty forgettable.
Yeah, actually, another small thing. Once she came into school, after she died, and I like how the others like, wait, what the hell's going on? She's like, dressed in a very revealing manner. I was reminded of, there was a sort of a comedy that came out with Emma Stone, called Easy A back in 2010. And I was reminded a bit of her personality too, when she was a bit more flamboyant with her sexuality, and just sort of, I don't know. I really liked that first scene. Go times.
Yeah. All I can think about is, geez, if I was at that high school, I know where I'd. Oh, no, I can't. No. Okay. Well.
Okay. on that note.
Let's move on.
Indeed.